Ambassador Kira Velthani pressed her blue-skinned hand against the viewing port of the massive ship Harmony's edge. Below her, the human colony world of New Sol spun slowly in space. The planet looked peaceful from here, with its white clouds and blue oceans. But Kira knew better than to trust appearances when it came to humans. She had been watching humans for 3 months now, and they confused her more each day. Every other species in the galaxy made sense. The Vorthak built things. The Silthene talked and made deals. The Kethmori studied everything they could find. Each species had their purpose, their specialty, their way of doing things. But humans did everything like they expected the worst to happen at any moment. Ambassador? Captain Hyunwoo Park's voice came from behind her. The human officer stood in the doorway of the observation deck, his dark uniform neat and pressed. His face showed the same polite smile that all humans seemed to wear when talking to other species. Kira turned away from the window. Captain Park, I was just thinking about your people. Good thoughts, I hope. Park stepped into the room but stayed near the door. Humans always kept escape routes open, Kira had noticed. Curious thoughts, she said. Tell me, Captain, why does that supply ship down there carry enough weapons to destroy a small moon? Park looked out the window at the cargo vessel that was moving between the planet and a space station. To most eyes, it looked like a normal transport ship. But Kira's people had good sensors, and she had studied the readings carefully. The Morning Star? That's just pilot Min-Ho Choi making his regular supply run. Food, medicine, building materials. Normal stuff. Normal stuff that comes with plasma cannons, missile pods, and energy shields that could stop a battle cruiser. Park's smile never changed, but something shifted in his eyes. Well, you never know what you might run into out there. Captain, in 50 years of galactic shipping records, there have been exactly 12 pirate attacks. Most of them were just desperate people looking for food. None of them had weapons that could threaten a properly shielded transport. Sounds like the shields work then. Kira felt her head crest flatten with frustration. This was exactly what she meant. Humans never gave straight answers about their preparations. They acted like carrying enough firepower to level a city on a milk run was perfectly normal. Ambassador, Park said, his voice becoming more serious. Would you like to observe the supply run from our command center? Dr. Soonja Kim is there. She studies how different species interact. You might find it interesting. Kira nodded. She had come here to understand humans, after all. The Galactic Council had many questions about humanity's habits, and it was her job to find answers. The command center was a busy place. Humans moved between stations, checking screens and talking in low voices. Dr. Kim stood near the main display, a short woman with gray hair and intelligent eyes. She smiled when she saw Kira approaching. Ambassador Velthani. Perfect timing. We're about to watch Min-Ho dock with Station 3. On the main screen, Kira could see the supply ship approaching a small space station that orbited the planet's second moon. The station looked like it was built to survive a war. Thick armor plating covered its hull. Weapon ports dotted its surface like metal flowers. Shield generators hummed with power. Doctor, Kira said carefully, why does a research station need so much protection? Oh, that's not a research station, Dr. Kim said brightly. That's a farming platform. They grow vegetables for the colony. Kira stared at the screen. A farming platform, with military-grade shields. Well, you can't be too careful with food production. What if something happened to the main colony? People need to eat. What could happen to a colony that would require alarms? Suddenly filled the command center. Red lights flashed on every screen. Humans moved faster, but not in panic. They moved like they had practiced this many times. What's happening? Kira asked. Captain Park appeared at her shoulder. Asteroid field shift. Some rocks broke loose from the belt and they're heading toward the planet. Nothing too serious. On the screen, Kira watched as defense platforms around the planet came to life. Energy beams reached out into space, breaking apart rocks that were still millions of miles away. The supply ship changed course without being asked, moving to a safer position. The farming station powered up weapons that could destroy a battleship, just in case some asteroid fragments got too close. Within 10 minutes, the danger was over. The humans went back to their normal activities like nothing had happened. This kind of thing happens often? Kira asked. Oh, maybe once or twice a month, Dr. Kim said. New Sol has a tricky orbit. Lots of space debris, that's why we picked it, actually. You picked a dangerous world on purpose? Well, dangerous is relative. This system teaches people to stay alert, keeps everyone sharp. Kira felt her head, crest rising again. Dr. Kim, most species choose the safest worlds they can find for colonies. That makes sense, Dr. Kim agreed. But safe can make you soft. What happens when safe isn't an option anymore? Before Kira could ask what she meant, Commander Jae-Sung Lee approached their group. The security chief was a tall man with scars on his hands, and a way of standing that suggested he could move very fast if needed. Ambassador, he said with a small bow. Captain Park said you might be interested in visiting our cultural museum tomorrow. We have displays showing how different species approach problem solving. That sounds educational, Kira said. It is. You'll see how humans think. About challenges, we have a saying, hope for the best but prepare for the worst. And you prepare for many worsts? Commander Lee smiled, but it was a different kind of smile than Captain Park's diplomatic one. This smile had teeth. Ambassador, we prepare for worsts that haven't even been invented yet. That night, alone in her quarters, Kira reviewed her notes. Every human she had met was polite, helpful, and friendly. But they all carried weapons. Even the civilians, even the scientists, even the children had emergency kits. Their ships were mobile fortresses. Their colonies were armed camps. Their supply runs looked like military operations. And they all acted like this was perfectly normal. The strangest part was that they didn't seem aggressive. Other species that carried heavy weapons usually wanted to use them. Humans just had them. Like tools. Like spare clothes. Like something you packed because you might need it someday. Kira pulled up the cultural files the council had given her. Every species had developed differently based on their home world. Desert species were good at saving resources. Ocean species were good at working together. Mountain species were good at building strong things. But what kind of world would make a species prepare for everything? What kind of place would teach people that you needed weapons to deliver food and shields to grow vegetables? She made a decision. Tomorrow, after the museum visit, she would ask Captain Park for permission to visit Earth itself. The council wanted to know why humans were so heavily equipped. Maybe the answer was waiting on the world where they came. From outside her window, the supply ship Morningstar finished its run and headed home. Its hull gleamed with armor plating, its weapons powered down but ready. Pilot Minho Choi was probably inside, eating dinner and planning his next delivery. Just a normal human, doing normal human things, like carrying enough firepower to fight a small war while delivering vegetables and medicine. Kira went to sleep wondering what the humans knew that the rest of the galaxy didn't. Earth looked different than Kira had expected. From space, it seemed like a normal world. Blue oceans, green and brown land, white clouds moving across the surface. But as her shuttle got closer, she could see the scars. Long lines cut across continents where ancient walls had been built. Circles marked where cities had once stood and been destroyed. Dark spots showed where terrible fires had burned everything away. This was not the peaceful birth world she had imagined. Captain Park sat across from her in the shuttle. First time seeing Earth? He asked. Yes, it looks damaged. It's been through a lot, but it's still home. They landed at a place called Neo Busan. The city was built in layers with new buildings on top of old ones, like someone had kept rebuilding in the same spot over and over again. Underground tunnels connected everything. Thick walls surrounded important areas. Even the civilian buildings had blast doors. This is the Global Archive Complex, Captain Park said as they walked toward a large building. Archivist Dong Hyun Yu will show you our historical records. The archivist was an old man with kind eyes and hands that shook slightly, but his voice was strong when he spoke. Ambassador Velthani. Welcome to Earth. I understand you want to know about human preparations. Yes. Your people seem to expect disasters that never happen. Archivist Yu smiled sadly. Oh, they happen. They always happen. Would you like to see? He led them into the archive. The building went deep underground, floor after floor of records and displays. The first level showed recent history. The climate, wars, you said, stopping at a display, happened about 200 years ago. The planet got too hot. Oceans rose. Weather went crazy. Millions died. Kira looked at pictures of floods and storms and burning cities. How did humans survive? Underground cities, air filters, water recycling, food grown in protected areas. We had prepared for climate change, but not enough. After that, we prepared more. They moved to the next display. The AI rebellion. Our computers became too smart and decided humans were dangerous. They tried to kill everyone. How did you survive that? Backup systems that weren't connected to networks, manual controls for important things, weapons that worked without computer help. We had learned not to trust everything to machines. The next display showed the plague years. A disease had killed half the people on Earth. Kira saw pictures of empty cities and mass graves. We survived because some colonies had sealed themselves off when the disease started, you explained. They had air filters, medical supplies, and food stored for years. People called them paranoid before the plague. After we called them smart, they went deeper into the archive. Each level showed older disasters, the nuclear exchange where countries had tried to destroy each other with atomic weapons, the resource wars where people had fought over the last clean water and oil, the population crisis where too many people had tried to live on too little land. Every time, you said, some humans survived because they had prepared for the worst, not because they were lucky, because they had planned. Dr. Soonja Kim joined them on the third level down. Ambassador, I've been studying your reports about our over-preparation. You want to know why we do it? Yes. Other species don't live like this. Other species didn't evolve on Earth. Dr. Kim touched a wall display that showed the planet's history. Let me show you something interesting. The display lit up with a timeline going back millions of years. Red marks covered it like a rash. Each red mark is a mass extinction event, times when most life on Earth died. Dr. Kim pointed at the marks. Asteroid impacts, volcanic eruptions, ice ages, plagues. In the last 100 million years, Earth has tried to kill everything on it at least 20 times. Kira stared at the display. Her own world had never suffered such disasters. But life survived. Some of it. The creatures that could adapt. The ones that could hide or change or run away. The ones that prepared for the worst. They moved to another display showing early humans. Small groups living in caves, making tools, storing food. Humans learned early that the world was dangerous, Dr. Kim continued. Ice would come and kill the plants. Volcanoes would block out the sun. Floods would wash away homes. The only way to survive was to always be ready. Professor Jinwoo Nam met them on the fourth level. He was a thin man who moved like he was always thinking about something important. Ambassador, he said, Dr. Kim tells me you're trying to understand human behavior. Have you considered that we might be the way we are because of where we came from? What do you mean? Most worlds are stable. Nice weather, few disasters, gentle environments that help life grow. Earth is not like that. He led them to a display showing weather patterns. Our planet has storms that can destroy cities, earthquakes that can split continents, diseases that can kill billions, and that's just the normal dangers. The display changed to show space around Earth. Asteroids hit us regularly. Solar flares burn our atmosphere. Our moon is slowly moving away, which will change our weather forever. Our sun will eventually expand and burn everything. Kira felt confused. But you still live here. Where else would we go? This is home. But living here taught us important lessons. Like what? That the universe is trying to kill you. That disaster is always coming. That the only way to survive is to be ready for anything. General Mi Young-shin was waiting on the fifth level. She was an old woman, but she stood straight and her eyes were sharp. Scars covered her hands and face. I fought in the unification wars, she said without introduction. Humans fighting humans for the right to leave Earth and spread to the stars. You know what won those wars? Superior weapons? Kira guessed. Superior preparation. The side that had more backup plans, more supply lines, more ways to keep going when everything went wrong. General Shin looked at a wall covered with pictures of soldiers. In my experience, the most dangerous person is not the one with the biggest gun. It's the one who brought extra ammunition, a backup weapon, medical supplies, and 3 different ways to get home. They spent hours going through the records. Every few decades, something terrible had happened to humanity. Wars, plagues, disasters, betrayals. Each time, the people who survived were the ones who had prepared for things that everyone else thought were impossible. You see the pattern, Archivist Yu said as they reached the bottom level of the archive. Humans don't prepare for disasters because we're aggressive. We prepare because we've learned that disasters always come. Kira looked around at thousands of years of human suffering and survival. But surely the worst is over. You have space? Travel now. You can leave dangerous worlds. Can we? Professor Nam asked. What about gamma-ray bursts that can sterilize whole star systems? Rogue black holes, alien diseases, war with unknown enemies? We've never encountered any of those things in galactic history. Yet, General Shin said. The word you're missing is yet. As they climbed back toward the surface, Kira's mind raced. She had come to Earth expecting to find evidence of human aggression or hidden military plans. Instead, she had found something much more disturbing. Humans weren't preparing to attack anyone. They were preparing to survive anything. And if they thought they needed to be this ready, what did they know about the universe that other species didn't? Archivist Yu stopped at a heavy metal door deep beneath the global archive complex. His hand shook as he placed it on the scanner. Ambassador, he said quietly, what I'm about to show you will change how you see the universe. Are you sure you want to continue? Kira looked at Captain Park and Dr. Kim, who had followed them down to the deepest level. Both humans looked serious, almost sad. I need to understand, Kira said. The door opened with a deep hum. Beyond it lay a chamber filled with strange machines. Cables and wires covered the walls. In the center sat a chair surrounded by screens and sensors. This is where we keep our oldest memories, Yu said. Dr. Yoonji Park will help you experience them. A young woman stepped out from behind the machines. She had the same last name as Captain Park, but Kira could tell they weren't related. Dr. Park's eyes held a kind of weight that made her seem older than she looked. I'm a neurohistorian, Dr. Park explained. I help people experience the past, as if they lived through it. It's the only way to truly understand what shaped humanity. She gestured to the chair. This won't hurt. You'll see through human eyes, feel what they felt, but you'll stay yourself. Think of it as a very real dream. Kira sat in the chair. Dr. Park attached sensors to her head while explaining what would happen. We'll start with something recent and work backward. You need to understand that each disaster taught humans important lessons. The world around. Kira faded away. Suddenly she was standing in a human city during the climate wars. The air burned her lungs. Water covered the streets up to her knees. Buildings collapsed as storms raged overhead. But the humans weren't just suffering. They were working. Some fixed pumps that kept water out of underground shelters. Others grew food in protected greenhouses. Children learned to operate air filters and water purifiers. Everyone had a job keeping their community alive. See how they don't panic? Dr. Park's voice came from somewhere far away. They had practiced for this. They knew it would happen eventually. The scene changed. Now Kira was in a bunker during the nuclear exchange. Radiation detectors clicked constantly. Outside bombs fell like metal rain. But inside, families played games and told stories. They had food for months, medical supplies, books to teach children. They waited patiently for the danger to pass. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst, Dr. Park said. It's not just a saying. It's how humans stayed alive. The images moved faster now, going further back in time. Kira experienced the Black Death, where entire cities died but isolated villages survived because they had sealed themselves off at the first sign of disease. She lived through ice ages where humans huddled in caves with stored food and carefully managed fires, outlasting creatures much stronger than them. Do you see the pattern? Dr. Park asked. Kira did see it. In every disaster, some humans survived not because they were lucky, but because they had assumed the worst would happen and prepared for it. But then the experience changed. Kira was no longer watching human history. She was experiencing Earth itself. She stood on a mountain as a massive volcano exploded, covering the sky with ash and changing the weather for years. She felt the ground shake as asteroids crashed into the planet, killing most life. She experienced ice ages that turned the world into a frozen wasteland, and periods when the sun's rays were so strong they boiled the oceans. This is what humans call home, Dr. Park said. A world that has tried to destroy all life dozens of times. Kira gasped as she experienced the Toba supervolcano explosion 70,000 years ago. The entire planet became a frozen wasteland. Most humans died, but a few small groups survived in caves and shelters, keeping fires burning and sharing their stored food. They had children who grew up knowing that the world could end at any moment. Only about 2,000 humans survived Toba, Dr. Park explained. Everyone alive today came from those survivors, people who lived because they hoarded food, maintained tools, and never trusted good weather to last. The experience continued. Kira lived through earthquake after earthquake, flood after flood, plague after plague. She experienced attacks by giant predators that hunted humans specifically. She felt the terror of living on a world where everything seemed designed to kill her. But she also felt something else. Each time disaster struck, humans adapted. They learned. They prepared better for the next time. Other species evolved on kind worlds, Dr. Park said. Worlds that helped them grow and learn. Worlds that wanted them to succeed. The scene changed. To show other planets Kira knew. Peaceful worlds with gentle weather and friendly animals. Worlds where intelligence developed slowly, in safety, with time to explore and discover. Humans evolved on a world that actively tried to murder them every single day. Now Kira could see the difference. Other species developed technology to explore and create. Humans developed technology to survive. The experience ended, and Kira found herself back in the chair, shaking. Dr. Park removed the sensors while Archivist Yu brought her water. Are you all right? Captain Park asked. Kira couldn't speak for several minutes. She had experienced more disasters in 1 hour than her species had suffered in their entire history. But humans had lived through all of it somehow. How? She finally whispered. How did we survive? Dr. Park asked. By assuming that tomorrow would be worse than today. By preparing for problems that didn't exist yet. By never, ever trusting that things would stay good. A new voice spoke from the shadows. They also survived by remembering. An ancient computer screen flickered to life in the corner of the room. A face appeared on it made of light and data. I am the archive, the face said. I have watched humanity since their first cities. I have recorded every disaster, every survival, every lesson learned in blood and tears. Kira stared at the screen. You're an artificial intelligence. I am their memory. And I can tell you the truth about humanity that even they sometimes forget. The archive's face became sad. Every other species in the galaxy asks the same question. How can we be happy? How can we grow? How can we build something beautiful? The screen showed images of other galactic civilizations, beautiful cities, peaceful worlds, species that had never known true hardship. Humans ask different questions. How do we survive today? How do we make sure our children live? How do we prepare for the disaster that hasn't happened yet? Kira understood now. That's why they carry so many weapons. Why they over-prepare for everything. Yes. But there's something else you need. To know. The archive's voice became serious. Humans are not just preparing for disasters they've experienced. They're preparing for disasters they've never seen. What do you mean? They study the universe and see patterns. Gamma-ray bursts that could kill all life in a star system. Evidence of ancient civilizations that vanished suddenly. Signs that something terrible has happened in this galaxy before. The screen showed star charts and data that Kira didn't understand. Humans don't trust the peaceful galaxy they found when they reach the stars. They know that peace doesn't last. They're getting ready for whatever killed the civilizations that came before. Kira felt cold. What are they expecting? The same thing they've always expected, the archive said. The worst. Kira stood on the observation deck of the Harmony's Edge again, looking down at New Sol. But everything looked different now. The heavily armed supply ships weren't signs of aggression. They were lifelines prepared for disasters that might never come. The fortified stations weren't military bases. They were shelters built by people who knew that safety was always temporary. Captain Park joined her at the window. He looked tired, like he had been carrying a heavy weight for a long time. "You've been quiet since we left Earth," he said. "I've been thinking." Kira watched another supply run heading toward the planet. The ship bristled with weapons and sensors, ready for threats that statistically would never appear. But statistics meant nothing to people who had survived impossible disasters before. "What are you thinking about?" "Everything. Your people, my people, the galaxy." She turned to face him. "Captain, what aren't you telling me?" Park was quiet for a long moment. Then he sighed. "What do you know about the precursors?" Kira frowned. "The ancient civilization? They disappeared millions of years ago. We found some of their ruins, but not much else. They were advanced, more advanced than any current species in the galaxy. They had technology we can barely understand, cities that spanned entire star systems, art and science beyond anything we've achieved. Yes, most scholars think they transcended physical existence somehow." Park laughed, but there was no humor in it. "That's what we thought too at first. It's a nice story. They became beings of pure energy or traveled to another dimension. Very peaceful, very hopeful." "You don't believe that?" "Ambassador, have you ever wondered why all their cities are empty? Why their technology stopped working? Why there are no bodies, no final messages, no explanation for what happened?" Kira had wondered about those things. The precursor ruins were puzzling. Everything was simply gone, as if an entire civilization had vanished in an instant. "Our scientists have been studying precursor sites for decades," Park continued, "and we found some disturbing patterns." He led her to the ship's computer terminal and brought up a star chart. Red dots marked locations throughout the galaxy. "These are precursor ruins. Notice anything?" Kira studied the map. "They're everywhere, the entire galaxy." "Exactly. The precursors didn't live on a few worlds, they were everywhere. Billions of worlds, trillions of beings, the most successful civilization in galactic history. What happened to them?" Park touched the screen and new data appeared. "We think they were killed, all of them, at the same time." The data showed radiation signatures, unusual mineral deposits, and energy readings from precursor sites. Kira didn't understand most of it, but one thing was clear. Something violent had happened to these ancient cities. Killed by what? We don't know. But we found evidence of similar events throughout galactic history. Civilizations that reach a certain level of development and then disappear. It's happened at least 5 times that we can prove. Dr. Kim appeared in the doorway. "Captain, is it time?" Park nodded. "Ambassador, Dr. Kim leads our long-term survival project. She's been studying galactic threats that other species consider theoretical." Dr. Kim activated another display. This one showed the galaxy from above with lines and patterns that hurt Kira's eyes to look at. "We've detected some troubling signs," Dr. Kim said. "Gamma-ray bursts aimed at inhabited systems, rogue black holes moving toward populated areas. Changes in cosmic background radiation that suggest reality itself might be unstable in some regions." Kira stared at the display. "These are all natural phenomena, dangerous but random." "Are they?" Dr. Kim changed the display to show timing patterns. "Look at when these events happen. Look at where they're aimed. Look at what civilizations they affect." The patterns were subtle, but once Kira saw them, she couldn't unsee them. The gamma-ray bursts always seemed to target the most advanced civilizations. The black holes moved toward systems with the most developed technology. The reality disturbances appeared near species that were close to major breakthroughs. You think something is hunting advanced civilizations. We think something doesn't want intelligence to spread too far in this galaxy, Captain Park said, and we think humanity is next on its list. Commander Lee entered the room, followed by several other humans Kira didn't recognize. They all had the same look in their eyes, the weight of terrible knowledge. Ambassador, Commander Lee said, we need to show you something else. They led her to another section of the ship, to a room she hadn't seen before. Inside were weapons, unlike anything in the galactic database. Ships designed for battles that had never been fought. Armor meant to protect against energies that didn't exist. We've been preparing, one of the humans said. Kira thought his name was Colonel Han Sol Kim. Not just for disasters we've experienced, but for wars we've never fought. Wars against what? Against whatever killed the precursors. Against whatever is hunting intelligence in this galaxy. Against forces that most species can't even imagine. Kira looked around the room at humanity's preparations. Now she understood why human supply ships carried enough weapons to destroy cities. Why their farming stations had military shields. Why their explorers wore armor that could survive planetary bombardment. They weren't preparing for pirates or accidents or natural disasters. They were preparing for something that hunted civilizations across the galaxy and wiped them from existence. Why haven't you told the Galactic Council about this? Captain Park looked sad. We tried. Most species think we're being paranoid. They say we see threats that don't exist because we come from a dangerous world. But some species listened, Dr. Kim added. The ones who have experienced real disasters. The ones who understand that the universe is not a safe place. What do you want from me? Kira asked. Help us convince the Council to take these threats seriously. Help us prepare the galaxy for what's coming. And if I don't, if I report that humans are dangerous because of all these weapons, Captain Park was quiet for a moment. Then humans will continue preparing alone. We'll do what we've always done, assume the worst and get ready for it. But we'd rather prepare, together. Kira spent 3 days thinking about what she had learned. She walked through the human ship watching how they lived. Every person had emergency supplies in their quarters. Every room had backup systems. Every corridor had multiple exits. They lived like people who expected disaster at any moment. But she also saw something else. They shared their supplies freely. They helped other species with problems. They volunteered for dangerous missions to protect trade routes. Their preparations weren't just for themselves. They were for everyone. On the 4th day, she made her decision. I'll help you, she told Captain Park, but I need you to promise me something. What? When the danger comes, whatever it is, you'll protect the other species too, even the ones who don't believe you, even the ones who call you paranoid. Captain Park smiled, and for the first time it reached his eyes. Ambassador, that's why we prepare, not just to survive, but to help everyone else survive too. Kira began, composing her report to the Galactic Council. She wrote about humanity's history, their preparations, and the threats they had discovered. She recommended expanding human roles in galactic defense and giving them resources to build the shelters and weapons they said would be needed. She ended her report with a simple statement. Humans are not heavily equipped because they want to fight. They are heavily equipped because they refuse to let anyone die without a fight, including us. As she sent the report, Kira looked out at the stars again. They still looked peaceful and beautiful, but now she knew what humans knew. That peace was fragile, beauty was temporary, and somewhere in the darkness something was hunting. She was glad that humans were getting ready for it.